Welcome back to another episode of the Joyful Mate podcast. I'm your host, your joyful journey mentor, Anthony Hartcher, and I look forward to sharing the insights today on emotional regulation. Why have I chosen emotional regulation? Well, it's the end of the year. Our emotions are running high after a busy year, and it's nearing our summer break in Australia, in the Southern Hemisphere. Northern Hemisphere is going into the depths of winter. We're approaching the Christmas time for Christians, Hanukkah for the Jews, and it's a time where we get together with family. And getting together with family can bring up some old grudges or some old dislikings or some old things that we haven't quite got over because we're going to see someone that we haven't seen for a while that we've been avoiding all year. Or it could be Christmas celebrations or celebrations, end of year celebrations with your company, with your friends, and you're running into people that you've been trying to avoid or you've been wanting to avoid, but it's inevitable that you'll see them in someone, see what you haven't forgiven in yourself or loved in yourself in someone else, that will come up again. So we're talking about emotional regulations on the basis that when we get emotional, we have a very polarized view, a very either extremely negative view of someone or extremely positive. So we either really look forward to seeing someone, and then we have a extremely positive view of this person, someone we admire, we really like, we love, or we have a negative view of someone. And I'm talking the more extreme side of things, someone we dislike, we detest, we despise. So we're trying to avoid that someone that we don't like being around. But at Christmas time, we will inevitably run into someone that does something similar to this person you dislike, and it will bring up emotions in you. And it's essentially a reflection of disowned parts in us. So we get reminders all around us in the environment around us to learn to love ourselves. However, we keep running away from it. We keep running away from those reminders. We want to avoid it because it brings up emotions that are unsettling within us. It brings up that chaos within us. And it brings up all this thinking and thoughts in our brain. Our brain gets very disordered. And we then just get more and more polarized and more angry. And because I guess we focus on that, and what we focus on expands and gets bigger. And so we work ourselves up to a point where we just need something to fix us. And, you know, with the celebrations, it could be alcohol. And so therefore we drink more alcohol or we eat more food. And it's all about trying to settle our emotions. But what I want to share with you today is why they're there and what you can do about it to stop allowing it to run you, to enable you to govern your emotions, to be more, in a more settled state, or a way in which you can recognize it and then do something about it, as opposed to keep running away from it and then doing these quick fixes like having another piece of chocolate or another bit of cake or another drink to deal with it. So what we first of all is got to recognize that we're a bit unsettled, and then we got to think as to why. Why is it so unsettling? The more we ask the question why, the better we get to the underlying reason. And so it requires reflective time. It requires, okay, I'm getting a bit worked up. I need to make a mental note of that and work on it. It's something I need to work on. It's something, a part of me I haven't owned and loved, that keeps the world around me keeps reminding me of it. And it makes me unsettled because ultimately the universe wants you to feel complete, to feel whole, to feel one. And so that's why you keep running into these reminders, because you haven't owned it in yourself. You haven't loved it in yourself. So it can be behaviors that you've done that you're guilty or shameful of, and you haven't seen the benefit of doing that, the benefit to the person you did it to, or the benefit to yourself, depending on where the guilt and shame is. Or it could be like physical traits of yours that you haven't seen the other side of. you haven't seen the blessing for having that trait. So everything is completely balanced. What we tend to do is we judge it and we either label it good or bad, and then we focus on that side. And if it's good, we just want more of it, right? If it's bad, we want to avoid it. And this really drives us into that animal behavior where we're in survival mode. We're either running towards pleasure or running away from pain. And that's running our lives. But we ultimately want a life where we can see the wholeness in it. We're not judging it. We're not running around in survival mode judging everything. Yes, there's it's important the reason why we have that is to keep us safe. However, a lot of these reminders aren't of aren't in violation of our safety, and sometimes it could be, but majority of the time it's not. It's generally just something that you are just a bit unsettled about yourself, that you've been reminded from when you see someone else. Okay. So when you feel unsettled by a relative in terms of what they say, what they do, or something or physical feature about them, it's something in you. It's a reflection, because we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are, right? And so we're filtering the world based on what we value, based on what we've judged. And so we're constantly seeing that and more of that. But we can start to see the wholeness is when we start to look at the other side of what we're not seeing. And we can start to broaden our lens as to how we see the world, so we can see the world more as it is, as opposed to wanting it to be how you are in this present state, right? Or in this where you are in your journey. We ultimately can see it as it is if we work on it, if we take the time to reflect, if we take the time to calm down our emotions. So we can calm down our emotions by controlling our breath. We can slow our breath down. We can get into nature, and that will calm us down. We can do a combination of both. It's just doing things that calm you down, that are more sustainable in terms of aligned to your values. So there's no point if you value health and you're eating a whole lot of junk food to calm you down, or you're drinking a whole lot of alcohol to calm you down. You want to find things that are healthy, that are aligned, that will calm you down, such as would be more mindfulness activities that will calm you down. So look for ways in which you can calm yourself down. It may be talking to others, it may be spending more time with other people that help you see the wholeness in what is, as opposed to the judgment that you're taking, or the conclusion you're jumping to is, oh, if they do this, it means that. No, it doesn't. It's only because you've labeled it and judged it, it means that. But in order to see the wholeness, we need to see the completeness, which is looking at both sides of it. Is saying, yes, it's got an upside, it's also got a downside, but it's completely balanced once we start to look for what we're not seeing. So if you're extremely negative about something, about a person, then it's looking at the upside to it, and it's generally something we're judging. So we need to be very specific as to what we're judging, because if we're not, we actually won't find the balance, because we will then look for something else to support us. Our pride steps in the way, and then we look for something that supports our argument. But they also do this, they also do that, they also do this and that, um, and and it's generally what we're saying is we put it under a banner, like we say it's narcissistic, or we say, oh, it's just bad, or it's just so general and broad. What we need to break it down is to the specific thing that they're doing. Really understand what it is that's making you feel unsettled, because it will actually dissolve a whole lot of past issues as well once you start working on it. You'll see the blessing in it, and it will just resolve all these baggage, all these layers of the onion that you've just built up over the years. So it's really important that we notice what is making us emotional, either extremely positive or extremely negative, and look to see the other side. Because when we look at things as extremely positive, we'll just believe everything they say. We will just worship everything they do, and we sort of forgo us in order to worship them or, stay connected with them. And we're not really seeing it as a human. We're actually idolizing them. And that can be really unhealthy in terms of we constantly put ourselves down and we put them on a pedestal. What we want to do is see what we admire in them in us. So own what we admire in them, because there's traits that you're really attracted to that you've got within inside you. You just haven't owned it to the degree that you see it in them. But you can start to see this and look at all the times that when you demonstrated that positive attribute to what you like in that person. Look at all the times you've done that, and note it, and to the point where you can say, yeah, I do that behavior just as much as they do. And we do this in a negative way as well. We own the behavior that you dislike in someone, and we look at all the times at which we did that behavior and start to accumulate it to the point where you think, yeah, I do it just as much as them. I am human. I'm one. I'm completely whole. There's nothing missing. So when we own these disowned parts, we have better emotional regulation. We can see the world as it is. We can be grateful for the world as it is. We can be grateful and loving of other people for who they are, as opposed to judging them and only liking them if they do a certain behavior. We want to love the wholeness in who that person is. And then when we see the wholeness in them, we've owned the wholeness in us. And we feel at one with everyone and everything. And that's ultimately the journey we're going on. So this can be a real difficult thing to do when you're so worked up about something. And so if you're needing some help because you get so emotionally worked up and you just can't love that part of you that you haven't loved before, then please reach out to me. Please reach out, book a free session with me, click on the link in the show notes, and let's have a conversation. And I can really help coach and guide you through the problem or the challenging thing that you have that you keep running into that you can't avoid anymore. And it's running your life and you're trying to run away from it, but you can't run away from it. So please reach out. I would be really loving to support you on your journey as a joyful journey mentor, to help you get better emotional regulation, to help you see the world as it is, and to help you love everyone and everything. So that's it for this episode. We're getting very close to the end of the year. I really appreciate your listening and following this episode, and your feedback's been wonderful. Continue to give me feedback, continue to share as to what you'd like me to talk more on or in more depth on. And I would love to do that. I'll also continue to get guests in the new year. I've been a bit busy towards the end of the latter part of this year, and hence haven't found the chance to get some guests on, but I'll certainly be lining up the guests for next year. You'll still hear a bit of me. I love sharing my thoughts and the wisdom as to what's coming up in my mind and how I can help you on your journey. So continue to follow the podcast throughout the rest of this year, next year. Really appreciate your listenership. Reach out if you need some help around emotional regulation. I'd be happy to guide you. Thank you for listening to the Joyful Mate podcast.